So here I am in a new project. The first thing I want to do is go to my render settings and change the output width and height to 1280 by 720. The frames per second does not matter because it's just a still frame. Okay, so here we are, and let me just do a quick save. Go to files. Okay, I've just saved. Okay, so let's start. The first thing I want to do is going to go and make a new camera. Let's look into the camera, and the X will be 0, Y will be 0, Z will be minus. I'm going to keep it for a 6000. Okay, and the heading and the P rotation will be 0 as well. Okay, so now we have this blank screen. So now let's go make a new plane. I'm going to set the orientation to +Z, and I'm going to increase the width to say something like 9000 so that it covers the screen, and the height to let me try something like the height to something like 3000. Okay, so we have something that occupies this whole thing. And then I'm going to change the segment. I'm going to set the width segments to 145 and the height segments to 100. Okay, so we have something like this. And let me just call this back plate. Let's now make a text. So I'm going to go to More Graph and choose more text, and I'm going to call this double cube, and I'm going to set the depth to -50, a line in the middle, and a height about 600. It's pretty big. And I'm going to change the font, and I'm going to choose something called BBAS. It looks a pretty good font. Hit OK. Actually, I'm going to change it to a more boldish look, and I'm going to set the height to 650. Okay, I'm going to go to the caps, and in the go for the cap for both, and for the start cap a step of 1 and a radius of 1, and for the end cap a radius of 3, and for the type I want to set that linear with a Phong angle of 0, and I'm going to call this DC, and I'm going to copy paste it, and I'm going to call this tutorials. Put that at the bottom, and I'm going to change this to tutorials. Bring that down. I'm going to reduce this height. Reduce the height to 165. So it looks pretty small, and just give it a horizontal spacing of 10. Okay, that is good. And I'm going to go to the right view here, and I'm going to take these two and just move that a little bit front. So in the coordinates I'm going to set Z to say something like -20, just popping out, not touching the board. Okay, next I'm going to make a cube, and I'm going to call this border. Oops, sorry. Border. Let's set this to -6000. Okay, this border, I'm going to bring that down. Okay, and go to the object tab. On the x-axis, that is what increases. I'm going to set that to say something like 6000, so that it, let's keep it as to 6500, so that it covers the whole base here. And on the Y, I'm going to set that to say something like just 300. Okay, and let's go to our right view here. Let's look at this, and we want this property right over here. That's good. So now I'm going to go to this coordinate tabs, and I'm going to just round out this. So it's 1600 minus Y position is -1600, and I'm going to copy paste this, and I'm going to make this a plus 1600 centimeters, so it can go to the top right over here. And if we go into our perspective view again, we have this border kind of a thing. So now I'm going to say take these two and group them, group objects. So press Alt G and I'm going to name this as border, and take these two text layers, press Alt G, and I'm going to call this text. Okay. I'm going to make a new plane, and I'm going to bring that down to somewhere over here. So in the coordinates, I'm going to set that to minus 1600 centimeters, and I'm going to, on the object, on the width, I'm going to set that to 9000, and on the height, I'm going to set that to let's say like I think like 8000 would do. Okay, and another thing, I want to go to take the camera, and in the coordinates I'm going to zoom a little bit back. So let's say I'm going to set that to minus 7500. Okay, 7000 would do, not 7500. And the plane, I'm going to set the height a little bit more, say something like 2000, and then we could go in the coordinates and move that to, I'm going to set that to say something like minus 500. And these borders, you can take both, and in the object we can set the X size to 7000, or actually 7100 or something, so that it just gets covered over there. Okay, and next we want to take this plane and we want to duplicate it, and in the coordinates we want to set that to a positive 1600, so it goes right on top over there. Okay, the next thing is to create two more planes. So let's just copy paste this plane, actually I'm going to copy paste this back plate. Actually I'm going to make a new plane. I'm going to go and create a new plane, and in the P rotation I'm going to set that to 90, and banking I'm going to set that to 90. Oops. Yeah, okay. And then we want to go to the object, and we want to increase this to say something like 4000 by 4000. So that's pretty big. Okay, and we want to take it and we want to move it back out of the screen. So in the coordinates we want to set that to a negative of 5000 on the X, and then copy paste that, replace this there, oops, Control Z, take this, copy and paste, and I'm going to set this to positive 5000. So now if we get back out of a camera, we can see these two planes like this. There's one here, and the other plane is over here. Okay. One thing we can do, I think we can, yeah, that's good, decent enough. Or actually we're gonna set that to a 4000, so that it is intersecting here, and this itself also to negative 4000, so that it's intersecting over there. Let's get back into a camera view. Okay, now let's get out of a camera view, and let's go zoom in over here. Now if you want, you can hide the black plate if it's taking too much of your RAM. Okay, and I don't think we need that many segments anyways. I'm just going to set that to 1 and 1, and the same for all these as well. Maybe you can change it if you want in the future. Let's put the black plate on, and yes, now it's a little bit more smoother. Let's zoom a bit back. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is going to go and create a spotlight. Okay, I'm going to set the intensity to 30, the shadow type to shadow map soft, and the RGB value is as follows. RGB is 225, R is 225, G is 225, sorry, yes, and the B is 170. So we have a like a pale orange yellow kind of a color, whatever. Okay. Okay, in the coordinates, I'm going to set the y position to 1200 so that it's up, and the z position to minus 5400, so it's pretty back. And I'm going to give it a p rotation of minus 10 so that it's kind of lightly popping out. Okay, and in the details tab, I want to set the outer angle to 60, the aspect ratio to 0.5 so that it's an oval shape. Okay, I think that is good enough. And let's just get into a camera and just make a small render and see what we get. Okay, so we have something that looks like this, just like that. And it looks like we have a problem with our tutorials text, so let's just get into that. And in the caps, I'm going to set the radius to 0 and the radius to 0, and this is going to be a convex with a font angle of 60. Let's hit render again and see what we get. Oh god, let's just fix that one sec. Okay, so I just changed the font from a bold to regular. That do the trick. Okay, let's get back to the camera, coordinates tab, and set that to 6000. Get back to default, and I'll just hit render and see how we get. So okay, so this is basically what we have. Okay, I think I could get the light to move down on the wall. So I'm going to set that to minus 15 and just hit render and see. Minus 15 is too much. Let's try minus 12. Yeah, so it just gets that basic center illumination. Okay, and I'm gonna go call this spotlight. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is, before putting lights in, is just hide our light for a second, and I'm gonna go to the right view. That's right over here in the right view, and as we see these border cubes, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and actually remove these out of the null object, delete this. I'm gonna go and make a duplicate of this. Okay, let's get it. Let's close to that one, and I'm just gonna move this. Oops. Copy paste that, and I'm just gonna move this right like that outside and over here. So what I'm actually doing is, if I take a boolean and drop these two inside that, actually the other way around, we can see we get this a gap sort of a thing, this gap kind of a thing. If we go to our perspective view and get away from the camera, we can see that if we hide all these planes, let me just hide all these planes, this one, and yes, you can see that we have, let's get close in. We have this gap kind of a thing made, and if I take this one, yeah, and if I want to increase the size to say something like 7200, we get this hole over here, this hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put the hole on the other side. To do that, I'm just going to take that and I'm going to drag it to the other side. Okay, and if I want, I can even increase this boolean the z to say something like 500, and this also to 500. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to go and duplicate this border. Let's get down to that border, set these two also to 500. I'm gonna go take a new bool, put this one over here, not inside that, outside here, drag these two inside. Okay, this one over this, and drag this one down. Nope. Okay, the other way around. Yes. Oh, further wrong. Okay, if that's creating a problem, what we can do is we can delete this bool, we can copy paste this bool. Okay, take this bool, let's bring that down over here, and we can go to the coordinates tab of these two and set this to minus, and take this one also and set that to minus, and you get the same kind of a thing over here. If you come even more down, you can see this is what I'm actually looking for. And we can take these two bools and you know, let's take this one actually. We can just take both these cubes, move it in a bit, and the top view here. We can take these two cubes as well. Oops, this one and this one, and we can move that a further bit in. And this plane, the back plate, I want to set the width, sorry, the height to 4000, so that it covers the whole thing over here. Yeah. Okay, that looks good, and I'm going to take this and press Alt G, and I'm going to name this as borders. And let's get back to our camera view, and this is what we have. Okay, the camera 1600. Let me just set this to 1500 or 7000. Okay, let's create a new spotlight. I'm going to set the outer angle to 170. Just copy my settings, and then I'll show you how the effect is. In the coordinates tab, okay, now the coordinates. In the general, we want the visible light to be visible, and the color, the G value to be 230, and the B value to be 185. Okay, that is great. In the details tab, this is good. 170 outer angle. Yes, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and close this light just for a second, and I'm going to go to MoGraph and choose a cloner object and drag this light inside the cloner object. And in the count, I'm going to set that to 8, and here in the Y I'm going to set that to 0, and the X I'm going to set that to 550. So let's get out of this camera and see what we have over here. So if I take this cloner and move that back, you see we have this kind of light, right? And it's going to give some I'm going to give the light a rotation of 23 on the P, and the cloner, okay, actually on the cloner I'm going to give it the ending of 23, right? Great. And for the intensity of the light, I'm going to set that to say something like 270, so the bright light. Okay, this light in the details tab, the outer angle, I'm going to set that to 110 actually. Okay, and I'm going to set the P rotation of the cloner to minus 40, and so that it faces towards the light. And I'm going to go to the right view here to make this more simple. I'm going to drag this, oops, let's take this, what is wrong with this cloner? Let's see, smooth this up in the right, okay, fine. I'm going to set that to, let's say, 2000, or let's say 8500. That looks decent enough. And in the X, that's not the X actually, the Z, I'm gonna set that to a 0. Let's see what we get. Okay, and I'm going to set that to minus 30. Let's zoom in there. Let's say a minus 100 and 5600. Let's try 1550. Okay, that looks perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this cloner and I'm going to set the P rotation of this to a positive 40, so it faces the up way, and in the coordinates Y I'm going to set that to a minus 1550. So now all that happens, that exactly duplicates it right over there down here. That looks perfect. Now as you can see here, the light over here is coming out of this. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to take the X position of this, of the X, and I'm going to set that to a 100. I'm going to set that to a minus, let's try a 500. Now let's try a 1000. That also not good enough. Let's try something like a 4000. I think 4000 is a bit too much. Let's try 3000. 3500. Okay, and I'm just going to increase the count till it covers the screen. Okay, so 14, that does the trick. So now if we just hit a small render, you see we have this beautiful lighting system over here. You know, it looks like very beautiful, and you know, bright light, you know, these lights coming out, you know, looks pretty cool and decent. Okay, so for now let's hide these lights and let's disable these lights to have a better view, and I'm going to hide one of these cloners, and I'm going to duplicate one cloner, and I'm going to hide this one. And here in this light settings, I'm going to change a few settings. First of all, I'm going to set the intensity back to 100. I'm going to set the G value to 220 and the B value to 195, gives a different color difference. I'm going to set the visible light to none. And in the details tab, I'm going to set the outer angle to 100. So now let's get back to our right view and we see what we have. Okay, so we see we have this kind of a straight light over here, and I'm going to just I'm going to go and select this dot over here and increase that to something like that, so that you know it just kind of covers this text over here like that. And I'm going to duplicate this cloner by pressing Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and in the cloner settings go into the transform here, and the P I'm going to set that to minus, and in the object settings I'm going to set that to a positive 1500. So now this is what we have. So let's get back to our view over here with all the lights back on. Let's enable this cloner, enable this light on, go here, enable this light on, enable the spotlight. Let's go back to a camera in a perspective view, and let's hit a render. So it makes it a little bit more clear. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab these two planes and just group everything. So let me just drag this attributes panel down. Okay, so we're going to take all these planes, and I'm going to press Alt G, and I'm going to call this as planes, and I'm going to take this spotlight here and all these clones and press Alt G, and I'm going to call this lighting. So now let's get on to some materials. Okay, so first thing, I'm just going to go and disable all the lights because we want to see our background text. Okay, now I'm going to be creating 4 materials, so I'm just going to drag this one and drag this one. So let's get into the first material. Go to the color. Oops, in the color channel, I'm just going to set this to a pure white color and with the default specular. That's it. Let's get into the next color. In the specular, I'm going to set the width to 10, the height to 95, and the fall off to a 45, so that we have a very sharp, you know, this kind of a look. And I'm going to disable the color and go to the transparency, and I'm going to set the brightness to 90 with a refraction of 1.37. and I'm also going to give it a blurriness of 10. Okay, this is our next material. Let's get into our next material. The next material, I want to disable the specular. I'm going to check on reflection, go to texture, choose Fresnel, and I want to set the brightness down to 100 and also the mix strength down to 100. And in the color channel, I'm going to set that to a pure black. Okay, let's go to the next color. Okay, in the color channel, I'm going to set the color to white. The specular is going to be default, and I'm going to check on this displacement option. And in the texture, I'm going to go and choose noise, and I'm going to check the subpolygonal displacement. I'm going to set the height to 1, and I'm going to go get into the noise and do some settings over here. The noise type, I want to make that to blister turbulence. The octave, set that to 5. The global scale down to 10. So we have this simple noise, and no more changes I would suggest, and let's close this. So we're now done with the textures, and let's just apply these textures now. So on the black plate, I will take this displacement texture and put it on that. Let's open up our texts. On this text, I'm going to put this black color material on both. And on the main text, that is double cube, I'm going to take this white material, put it on that, and I'm going to set the selection to R2. So it's there on these edges over here. Okay, and the rest of the black materials, let's take this, our borders, and drop this on our borders, and also on our planes. Let's just hide this lighting. And this transparent material is just, an option for this. Let me just show you. Now here, if I just make a new plane, let me just do that and finish it off. Let me just move this up. Okay, set that to 1590. Let me just expand it. And I'm going to copy paste this plane and set that to a negative -590 so that it goes down at the bottom as well over here. And on this, if I take my material of the transparency and put it on that, we go to the front view and let's just zoom back. Go to the object settings, and I want to set the width to 9000. What it does, it gives it a little subtle effect, of the plane over here, which is below our border over. Okay, our borders are over here, not the borders, actually our planes. This one and this one. Actually, what this plane does is just gives it a subtle effect, that is, you can get the feeling that the light is coming through the glass. So to make that actually get, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take this and take these two planes and move them back so that they are just covering this part only, this part over here. We don't want it to cover the full outside part of the plane. Oops, actually not that way, the other way around. Here, so you don't want it to intersect with the front part of the plane. So now if we go into our front view, okay, looks like I've deleted my black backplate by mistake, so let's just make that once quickly. Got a plane, set that to a Z orientation, set that to 9000 by 9000, and the head segments to 1 and 1. I'm going to take my which material? Yes, the displacement material. Take that, drop it on that, bring that down. Let me just call this backplate, and there you go. And let's just take our lighting and put that back all on. yeah, and go to the render settings, and in anti-aliasing I'm going to set that to best 1:1 4:4, and go to effect ambient occlusion and effect global illumination, and I'm going to set these to the low settings so that we get a fast render. And let's just hit render and see what we get. So this is our final result, and looks to be pretty good and decent enough. If you guys don't want this reflection over here, you can just take these borders and move them up, so that that reflection is not seen. But you can kind of do whatever you want and check it out, and make some adjustments in the lighting, with your own text. So thank you for watching, and this is the tutorial on my new channel. You guys can check out my other channel as well for the old tutorials, my old channel with all the old stuff. And please like, share, subscribe and comment. Thank you very much. See you next time.